Masses of the Zandspruit community following a mob justice attack which left 8 people dead. Police Minister Bheki Cele has criticized police's response on that fateful day, saying that if they had responded in time, the situation would have been contained. He has since condemned community leadership parading in the area while committing crimes and using the youth.
One major thing was the response of the police on that particular day. Surely, if they've responded better than the way they did, situation would have been better here. The second point are people who are parading as leadership, yet they are pushing their criminal activities. Thirdly, it's a situation of environmental design to be able for community to work together with other structures, including the police, their movement. And fourthly, it's a piling of crimes that are not resolved in this particular area. Sixthly, or fifthly, which is the point I've made, are those people that put themselves as leaders, yet they run the crime activities using the youth here, and some of these youth, they die because of the contestation in the terrain of criminality, especially like drug issues.
Would you then say that the police failed those young men?
No doubt about it, no doubt about it. That one element that caused the problem are the police who did not do their job in that particular day.
Well, staying with the story, I'm joined now by our senior reporter, Malungelo Boy, who has been following the story for us. Good afternoon to you, Malungelo. Quite a long morning you had this morning. I mean, a 3-hour meeting that the police minister had with the community members of Zandspruit. The community feeling that the police don't really do much, that they get told to go and report cases in a different community, and that mob justice action was what it would take to actually get the attention of the minister.
I mean, that's something that's not very uncommon in South Africa. In fact, we know communities tend to take such drastic actions when they feel like police are failing to do what they're meant to do to protect the community. And it's exactly what community members in Zandspruit or community leaders in Zandspruit told the minister in that locked meeting, that honeydew police officers are really not there for them when they need them the most. But of course, the minister also agreeing with some members of the community that had they responded adequately on that night when they were called, perhaps these men aged between 20 and 30 would still be alive today. We know that there's about 8 of them that died in that incident. 1 is still in a critical condition in hospital. But also it was interesting, though, for me, Kyo, to listen to some of the sort of like what the minister then is saying that he will do going forward here. One of those things that will be done is that we know a special team of detectives will be deployed to Zandspruit to deal with crime in that particular community. But we know also Zandspruit, which falls under honeydew, you know, it always had crime problems. Robbery, murder is also a problem there. House break-ins are a problem. And hence we saw members of this particular community, when they heard that people who were terrorizing them were caught. That's why then most of them, in fact, decided to get involved and attack those young men.
You know, Malu, another thing that the minister mentioned as well, when he spoke about where the issues stem from, he mentioned, of course, some corrupt police officials, but he also mentioned community leaders who are sort of self-elected and pretend to be there representing the people, but then turn around and work together with the drug dealers and collude with corrupt police officials.
So, one of the, on Thursday, one of the ward councillors that I spoke to said to me this incident was not only about, these young men being, terrorizing the community, but there was also, the issue of rival drug gangs that were fighting amongst each other, and in a way also suggesting, Q, that members of the community were dragged into this incident, which really had nothing to do with them being terrorized by these young men. But at the same time, though, when you speak to community members, some of them will tell you that we knew some of these young men. They were involved in illegal activities. They were involved in terrorizing the community. But also the leadership problem there, you know, the minister speaking about, there's many community leaders there. That's clear. And when you interact with people, you'll find that this particular area has got its own group of people who apparently are also community leaders. The minister going as far as to say some of these community leaders don't actually even have identity documents. But also what was interesting, though, for me, Q, is that some of the people that have been arrested in regarding with Wednesday's incident, the minister saying that some of these people come from the Eastern Cape, KwaZulu-Natal and Limpopo, and in fact, one of the men that was killed, one community member told me that the man that was killed was actually not a resident of Zandspruit. In fact, that person stayed in Deep Kloof, and so there's also questions around all of that about this particular incident.
Another issue, Malungelo, you mentioned that you spoke to the community members and they knew some of those perpetrators of these criminal acts. But also there is another side where there are parents of boys who died who actually were not involved in crime, innocent people who lost their lives.
I spoke to Kenneth Mufamadi's father, Jeffrey. Kenneth is a 30-year-old man who was killed on that day. And Jeffrey was telling me that his son was not involved in any illegal activity. In fact, on that evening, he had just returned from work because he had been working, you know, a night shift and returned early, and he had gone to collect a key, and you know, from where he left it from his landlord. And when he arrived, he got caught up in all of that. So there has also been those stories, but at the same time, though, Q, let's face it, there's no parent who's going to raise his hand and say, yeah, my son is selling drugs. We also need to be mindful of that. While we've got to understand that, you know, some of the people here have been caught up in this incident and they were innocent. At the same time, though, some of these people were told by residents that they were involved in criminal acts.
And just lastly, the minister did mention that he wouldn't call what took place on Wednesday mob justice, but he would rather term it as vigilantism, you know, criminal elements. So are there members of the community then who you think might still be arrested, in addition to the police officers who have been identified as corrupt that the minister also promises will be brought to book?
Look, we know that already there's about 6 people that have been arrested for this particular incident, and those people, that's, as I said, they're not from Gauteng, they're from provinces like the Eastern Cape, KZN, and Northwest, as Minister Bheki Cele was saying. And obviously, he was saying that more arrests then will have to be made, and in fact gone as far as to appeal to members of the community to say, well, you know the people that were involved behind these attacks, so help us find them. In fact, there's a name that was touted there, Dube. Apparently, he is a community leader there, and he is the man that appeared to have been the, you know, the ringleader, so to speak, of this attack, and that person has still not been found. Now we know those that have been arrested will be appearing in court on Monday, and they'll now be facing 8 counts of murder, including kidnapping, as well as 1 of attempted murder, because one of the 9 people that was attacked on Wednesday is still in hospital in a critical condition.
And is the community happy with the address that was delivered by the police minister and the fact that he's going to be coming back in 3 weeks?
It was mixed. It was mixed. I think some of the people wanted drastic action there and there, but obviously some understand that, you know, the fact that Minister Bheki Cele went there to address them, it shows that he takes what happened in Zandspruit seriously.
Well, thank you for that. Our senior reporter, Malungelo Boy, just unpacking Police Minister Bheki Cele's visit to the community of Zandspruit this morning following mob justice that we saw unfolding on Wednesday, which has led to the death of 8 people, with one still critical in hospital.